I'm going to go ahead and start recording if that's cool with everybody. And so all we're going to do is I will walk you guys through the research opportunity. We'll go through the RFP just so we're all on the same page, and I will really leave it up to you if you have specific questions for us. So I don't intend for this to take a full hour. And I will keep it pretty informal. So stop me if you have any questions as we're going on. But with that, I want to introduce the Small Wind Turbine Research Project. We're really excited to engage with universities, colleges, and community college students to really give them a project to introduce them to the fundamentals of wind turbine testing, evaluation, and validation. It's kind of a fun program. We are going to be giving each school a small wind turbine and the associated hardware to complete a set of tests on the turbine, but also offer the opportunity for schools to then conduct their own dedicated research. They will also receive a small research grant. We really are excited to bring in industry mentors to help guide the research and provide opportunities through informational webinars and peer-to-peer kinds of check-ins throughout the fall of 2022 when the research is slated to happen. And then we are really excited to offer the opportunity for students to then present their research at the Distributed Wind Energy Association conference, which happens in Washington, DC annually, late in February. With that, I am gonna get out of this and just show you guys and walk you through the RFP if you haven't seen it. So first thing is really in terms of eligibility, this program is open to any undergraduate serving university, college, or community college. We have no preferences to the department in which these applications come from, but we do encourage a diversity of departments and multidisciplinary teams since small wind industry is very multidisciplinary. We are excited to work with some of our historically associated universities like ISU, who have been involved in repowering schools and maybe collegiate wind competition and other things. But we are also really excited to start working with some new universities and community colleges. So love you guys, App State and ISU, but we're also hoping that we get some folks from outside of our network that want to dip their toes into wind research as well. In terms of the timeline, the applications are due on April 20th. And from there, we will be reviewing the applications and making an announcement at Clean Power in May in San Antonio as to which universities, colleges, and community colleges have been selected to move on with the research project. We'll also be live streaming that and recording it. So if you're not at the event, you'll still hear about it, of course. So again, the description of the project, we just went over that. You get the turbine and some hardware, you get a small research grant, and then we provide opportunities through virtual meetings and webinars to meet the other research teams and meet with industry folks to learn and provide mentorship throughout the research process, and then presentation in February of 2023 at the DWEA conference. So the equipment that you are receiving is going to be a Primus Air Silent X turbine. It's a 12-volt turbine. It comes with a set of blades, but we're also going to be providing the Air 30 blade set and the Air 40 blade set. There is a difference between those blades, and it has to do with sound, I believe. The Silent X blades are a lot quieter during operation. So having the different blade sets will allow for some blade experimentation, which is super fun. We will also be providing the demo tower for the Silenex so that it can sit on the ground in your lab space, and also a hex tool that is specific to the air, that's super easy for using with a drill to do any drill testing. That's the basic package. From there, you will also receive a small research grant, and that research grant can be used to purchase additional equipment that you might need to manipulate and test the turbine. But if you have a lot of that stuff already in your lab, you can also use it to pay for faculty or staff time or other supplies. We do recommend certain things for you to have for just the basic testing on the turbine, having a drill for spinning the rotor, an ammeter or a voltmeter, a deep cycle battery, some sort of way to capture data, circuit breakers and other circuit protection, a dump load of some sort to when your turbine's in operation, other consumables like wire that you might need for constructing your the full circuit as you're testing your turbine, a lab or an outside environment for testing your turbine, maybe a wind tunnel, obviously personal protective gear, all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully you'll have some of that in your labs already that you can just use, but you can also utilize that small research grant to help purchase some of those things if you do not have them. Okay, so that's what you're going to be receiving. And so now we're going to start moving through the requirements for the project. So you're going to be asked to participate in a kickoff meeting if you are selected. We're start kicking off this project in June of 2022. The idea is to have the summer to really revise your research plan. And then on October 1st, you're getting a little bit into your semester. We will ask for you to submit that revised research plan. Now that you've got your equipment, you've seen it, now you can kind of revise that plan. We're going to ask you to conduct a set of basic performance tests on the Primus turbine. Again, we will have engineers from Primus and other industry folks who can help with all of this. But we would like to verify the power curve, confirm some of the basic cut-ins, speeds, rated powers, things like that. Confirm that the turbine regulates power and the battery is fully charged. Calculate annual energy production, which is bringing in some of that fun math. And then also calculating the energy savings and emissions avoided from the power generated from the turbine, and maybe even looking at how many turbines it would take to offset energy load in a building on your campus or a classroom on your campus. So looking at that in an energy savings and the avoided emissions sense. We would ask that you conduct at least one outreach activity to a secondary or a middle school related to the project or to wind energy. We have lots of examples and are happy to help with the determination of that. And then there will be a summary of your research findings that will be submitted at the beginning of 2023 in preparation for that presentation in February. And then we will also ask for an impact summary report. How many students were impacted by your project? Did you reach out to K-12 students? How many were indirectly impacted? Demographics and recommendations for improvement. So looking for some feedback at the very end as well. In addition to the required elements, we do have some other activities that we highly encourage and invite you to participate in. Again, these are more of the informational and mentorship sorts of pieces of this. So we will offer two informational webinars during the semester where the students could learn about careers in wind energy, or maybe it will be topical. In addition, we will offer monthly project calls, and these are opportunities for all of the teams to get on a call and learn from each other the challenges and successes that they're having, and maybe help each other through some of those. And the industry mentors will be there as well to give any feedback and suggestions on any research that you are already working through. And then lastly, the participation at the symposium for the Distributed Wind Energy Association is completely optional. We do highly encourage the students to participate in that. It's cool because FedEx has a local facility that's solar powered, so we'll get to tour a local facility as well. And there are some travel scholarships that can be made available for students that would like to participate in the symposium. You can also use your small research grant towards that as well. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to pause for a second. At this point, we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of what your proposal is going to look like if you're interested in going after the research project. But we'll stop and see if there's any questions about what we've covered already.
Is this the first time you're offering this type of grant, or did you have something similar in the past?
That's a great question. No, we have never offered this before. So this is our first foray into the small wind turbine research area.
So in terms of research outcomes, what's your envision for this research project to be at the just the undergraduate level, or maybe a conference paper, or even journal papers if applicable? Because the reason I'm asking is that it looks like the faculty advisors will spend quite some time to get through all the requirements and so on, but at the end it's the outcome, research outcome we're looking for if we're going to invest a certain amount of time on this project. Certainly good for students, but I have to think about my time commitment as well.
Of course. And I'm happy to answer that, but Charles, maybe you want to chime in as well. But initially, Jen, maybe our objectives for this were really from an educational standpoint, and maybe not so much as in scholarship per se, with undergraduate focus, and really thinking this might be a good thing for like a small wind course. If you were to stand up a new course, or be able to supplement an existing course, maybe an independent study, or maybe a capstone project. So I wasn't really thinking about things like getting a paper out of it, or things like that. But I don't know that that's not a learning objective. Charles, maybe you have more that you could say on that.
Yeah, I think our original objective was to introduce people to testing and to turbines and actual functioning turbines and things like that they may not have had experience with before. But I think you're hitting on something really important, which is we weren't thinking about research papers, not because it's not a good idea, but it was through pure lack of imagination. And it's just like, it's so great that you asked that question, because of course you could do whatever you wanted to do. The idea is to provide you with a platform and see where it goes. And it could just be something as simple as, well, this is how people test things, and this is how people predict the power curve. But if you do machine learning on, the variables, not very many variables come out of this, but you could through other instrumentation, you could describe the environment in which the machine's running in a more sophisticated fashion than just an anemometer and a wind vane. And so along those lines, you could, of course, expand this into a lot more interesting work.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was interesting to see the type of turbine you're supplying with this project. Remy, remember we had the Bergy 1 kilowatt Bergy system, and then it's retired, and it's in our lab right now. And we actually found a replacement, but the exact same turbine that you're supplying with this project.
Interesting, yeah. And I agree. I think, you can make this what you would like it to be. We have a couple of things that we want everybody to do, but from there, we're hoping that the schools will kind of get creative with what they can do with that system. And so some are going to be more advanced and some might be application. I'm going to, build a system and demonstrate that it works. And some might be doing some more in-depth studies.
Yeah, the one idea was I was thinking was, since we have the same exact turbine installed already, it's a very low height, and then that's just suitable for what we need for the structure, shed structure out in the field. And if we get another turbine, maybe install it at a different height to see if they generate different amount of energy, and collect the data, and then for the students to compare different power outputs and so on. I mean, there are many different ideas we could, get it.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. And the fact that you have the equipment there to leverage is a huge benefit to that. I'm sorry, my dog needs to go out.
Yeah.
One second.
Yeah, and if you were to move we've got a Northern on campus too, right? And this crazy idea, but the air turbine is basically like a big anemometer that also happens to make power, right? A reasonable amount of power. And it's bigger than an anemometer by a lot. So it's maybe more descriptive of the flow field than a small cup anemometer that has the space of a loaf of bread or something. And so it's a neat idea to think about it as a sensing tool as well. So there's a lot you could do with it. It's limited by your imagination, as we've already demonstrated that our imagination is limited.
Great. One more question about that, technical aspect of that turbine you're supplying. I believe that turbine is not supposed to be grid tied. It looks like it could be the off-grid standalone system. Then do we need the battery storage to store the generated energy with the system? But that's not part of the supplies you're going to provide.
That's right. I mean, you could be grid tied if you had a 1741 listed inverter, right? So there's nothing about the turbine itself that would forbid you from connecting it to the grid. You just need more equipment that would have to be acceptable to the grid operator. And you're right, you do need some sort of 12-volt power supply, or the turbine is going to be unhappy and not do anything. And presumably you could do it without a battery if you had a robust enough 12-volt power supply and a dump load that was reactive enough to be able to take the excess power. So if you had a power regulating circuit or voltage regulating circuit that activated a dump load that was binary in nature, so it could match the power flow of the turbine and keep the voltage constrained well enough, you wouldn't need a battery. And that would be clever and difficult enough to be an interesting research project. But yeah, simple thing would be to just go get a deep cycle battery and it'll absorb whatever power it is, and then you just bleed off when the battery rises to 13.5 volts or whatever it is, and drain it back down to 12 volts.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for all these great questions and good discussion. I was gonna next just kind of go through what the application looks like. So there is an online platform for the proposal. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's just a Google form. And I can walk through this real quick with you so you can see what you're gonna need to have ready. So this is just the introductory page. It's going to ask for your contact information. So your name, the college or university that you're with, your department, your email. We are going to ask for your shipping address up front, because if you are selected, that way we have the shipping address and we will just ship you all of your equipment. And then we are asking if your educational institution has any programs specific to wind energy. That way we're understanding, where you're at in the spectrum of kind of been doing wind research for a while and new to wind research, and this is your foot in the door. The next one is going to be your research proposal. And at this point, the research proposal should be less than 3 pages. It's going to include your research project, your objectives, and how those objectives align with your institution and your academic programs. We're going to be looking for some description of your team, because we are looking for a diversity on those teams, be that diversity of underrepresented populations or a diversity in academic disciplines. We are going to ask also for you to have a plan for some outreach. Again, that was one of the things that was in the requirements, is to engage with some students, either around your project and sharing the results of your project. You could bring students to campus to kind of show them what the students are doing. You could do a Kidwin challenge, or you can, and we can help link you with schools if you have a plan in place. And then the last part is making sure that you're spelling out a little bit about the academic support. We want to make sure that the school's all in. And if there is any fundraising that will be undertaken, if you could talk a little bit about that there. And then you just upload that as a PDF. So again, that's 3 pages. And then this is the academic program part. This is another 3-page document, max, talking about your academic institution, the program that you are part of, and description of the current educational and renewable energy programming, the description of how the equipment will be integrated into your current learning objectives, and then any non-student project leadership and mentoring. And then that will be uploaded as a PDF as well. Oh, I have to upload something just to put something in there. All right. And then we are going to ask for a budget for that small $2,750 research grant. It's real basic, just lets us know, are you thinking you're going to buy equipment, or are you going to be paying staff? And then you can upload that budget as a PDF as well. We are looking for an institutional letter of support. That way we just know that you've got the support of your school. Another PDF to upload. This part is optional. If you have letters of support from industry or community, it would be great to see those letters of support. And then we are asking if you can or have identified an industry mentor in your area that would be willing to work with you and your students. And if you don't, Repowering Schools is happy to help you find a mentor. But this way, if you do have someone that you would like to work with locally, we just ask you to provide their contact information so that we can include them in the group and all those webinars if your school is selected. And okay, and then the last is just a statement of commitment, and that's it. So it's a pretty basic form for submitting your proposal. Sorry. And again, there's 2 3-page PDFs that you will, okay, my screen sharing closed for some reason. But thanks, Perrin, thanks for being here. But yeah, those 2 3-page documents, an institutional letter of support, the budget, and that's it really in terms of documents that you need to provide. And then, like I said, from there, we will have a group of industry folks that are gonna review all of our applications, and we will make those decisions and announce them at Clean Power on May 17th, I think is the day. We'll firm those dates up as we get closer to the event. And I think that's everything that we needed to. Does anybody have any specific questions? I don't know why my screen stopped sharing all of a sudden. I think I think that was everything in the RFP. All right, the last thing is the scoring criteria. So you guys the applications will be scored out of 100 points. The heaviest emphasis is going to be on the educational objectives and academic integration. A lot is put on team diversity and academic and institutional support. We're also going to be looking at the research plan and your innovation in research, as well as your industry engagement and community engagement piece. And then we are going to be looking at programmatic diversity, again, looking at HBCUs, geographic diversity, programmatic diversity. So just making sure that we've got a good selection pool. And I think those are the big details. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and can open it up for questions if you guys have any last questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to let you go a little early.
Well, it's kind of it's kind of a none your business question, but I'm curious to know how many grants are you willing to give out? It's just curious because you said you have, some, and you're gonna divide them between institutions that already work with wind and institutions that are new to the thing. Yeah.
No, that's a fantastic question. And so this is the first time that we're doing this. Our goal is to give out 10 grants. Now, if we only receive 5 applications, then y'all might get bigger research grants because we'll have more money in the budget. But our goal is to give out 10. That is our goal.
Okay. Thank you, Rainey.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, the goal is not to spread out the words to different institutions, so we get the higher grants.
So tell nobody else to go for it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But actually, I'm going to forward this information to community colleges that we're partnering with, and they might be interested in this.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. And, initially, and Charles, I know that we talked about this at some point, but, it would be, I would be interested to see a university partner with a community college to do something like this. I don't really know how that works from a research and course kind of standpoint, or you link your 2 applications together. I don't know, but the fact that a university and a community college would have some sort of partnership, I think would be intriguing to me. I don't know, Charles, if you have thoughts on that, but.
So are you willing to accept a joint application with college and community college, for example?
I'm honestly open to anything, but we do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that would be amazing. If you can imagine what that would look like, we would be really interested in seeing it. I think to Remy's point that if in fact FedEx is happy with us to bump up, divide whatever funds are available amongst the winners, if it's fewer than 10, then it might be a good idea in your budget to say, well, what would happen if you had twice as much? What would you do with 3 times as much? Just so that we would have a sense of where the funds would go, sources, what would the uses of funds be?
Yeah, and I think, and Charles, correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, but I think, Jen, if you were to find a community college that you wanted to work with locally, that I would go ahead and submit the application and maybe submit the application twice, like each of you submit the same application, but submit it as a whatever $5,500 budget or whatever twice that is.
That sounds good.
That way it's one budget. We get the application twice, but know that they're linked together. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's two budgets, and then it could be fine under the same like PI name, for example, if we're taking responsibility of, you know, the does that matter?
So I guess what I would see is like you submit the proposal and a $5,000 budget or whatever it is. And then the community college PI also submits the same exact $5,000 budget and same proposal. We just receive it twice so that we know that they're linked.
Oh, okay. So it's the very
Otherwise, we
same.
don't have the ability to gather information for two PIs. Does
Mhm.
that make
Uh,
sense?
Okay, and then they get two turbines, and is that what
Yeah,
you're
you would get one turbine for each school, and then you'd get the double budget, but then the projects are linked together with similar objectives and things like that.
Mhm. That
Does
sounds
that make
fine.
sense, Charles? I'm making this up as I go.
No, I like the way you're making it up. I think it's great.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. I think we hit some great questions. We had some good brainstorming, and I will make this recording available to our network in case anybody wants to learn more and join the party.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, Remy.
Email me anytime if you have more questions as you're preparing your applications too.
Okay, have a good one all. Bye-bye.
Bye.